Hello, my name is Robin Smelinich, and welcome to your online orientation for your volunteer trip with the Child's Hope Foundation. In this orientation, you will first view a PowerPoint presentation, which will give you some information about the specific orphanage that you're going to. Also, in just a moment, Lexi Skousen will introduce herself as your volunteer trip coordinator, and Erin Knutson will also talk about registration, signing your waiver forms, and payments, and also a few tips on social media. In the end, Samantha Smith and I will talk about this information sheet, and this gives you some specific information with regards to your trip. Hopefully a lot of your questions will be answered in our presentation, but if not, feel free to contact either Lexi Skousen or your trip host with questions that you might have. We hope you enjoy your online presentation, and thank you for watching.
Hi, I'm Lexi Skousen. I'm the volunteer coordinator for the Child's Hope Foundation, and my job is to make sure all the volunteers are ready for their trip. You should have received 2 emails from me at this point covering your trip payments and the due date for that, and the orientation, that you're participating in right now. Along with those emails, I've included a couple of documents with your itinerary, so your plans for the week of your trip, the information sheet that has the specifics about the location you'll be visiting, the packing list that'll help you prepare for your trip, and then a link to the Google Pins that has all the locations that you'll be going to while you're down in Mexico. Along with this orientation, if you would like to speak with your trip host and figure out the details for your specific trip, let me know and I can set up a conference call for you to meet with them. If you have any other questions, let me know through email or over the phone. I'm happy to help answer any other questions you might have, and we hope you enjoy your trip.
Hi, my name is Erin Knutson, and I'm the Director of Marketing and Finance here at a Child's Hope Foundation. In a second, we're going to switch over to a video where I'll walk through the process for payments and refunds, talk about our waivers, and also the social media that you guys can use while you're on your trip. So we'll talk about that in just a minute.
Hey everyone, I'm going to teach you how to make a trip payment on our website, and then along the way I'll talk about our payment and refund policies. So first go to our website, achildhopefoundation.org. On our menu bar, we have Give, and then you go to Make a Trip Payment. On this page, you'll enter the amount you owe and a description about which trip you'll be attending. Full trip payments are due 3 months before the first day of the trip. If you're registering before the full payment due date, a $100 non-refundable deposit is due at the time of registration. If you're registering after the full payment due date, the full trip payment is due upon registration. There's also a $75 late fee assessed for those who register within 2 weeks of the first day of the trip. So if it was about 6 months out and you were just paying your trip deposit, you'd come over here and you'd put in the details. So for this example, I put in trip deposit for Guaymas, December 2018, Christmas. Then you have 2 payment options. You can pay with PayPal or with a debit or credit card. So with PayPal, you would fill in your personal information and then you'd select Next. It'll take you to the PayPal page for you to confirm your payment with your PayPal email address. If you want to pay with a debit or credit card, you'd come over here and select credit card. You'd fill in your same personal information and select Next. A box will pop up for you to put in your billing information. When you go to the next part of that box, then you'd be able to fill in your credit card number and then submit your payment. With either option, you'll receive an email with a confirmation. We understand that sometimes life happens and you may need to cancel your registration. Unfortunately, the $100 trip deposit is non-refundable, but the rest of the trip payment can be refunded or applied to a future trip. We do offer a one-time trip deposit transfer for volunteers who choose their new trip within 14 days of notifying our team of their cancellation. In this case, the full trip payment, including the $100 deposit, can be transferred to the new trip selected. So pretty much what this means is that if you want to transfer to a different trip, if you know you have to cancel, then you can let us know which trip you want to go on and we can transfer that trip deposit. It can only be transferred one time, so you wouldn't be able to then transfer that same deposit to another trip after that. Once a trip is only 2 weeks out, all trip payments become non-refundable and non-transferable for that trip. If you ever have any questions about your trip payments, please call or email me and we can discuss in more detail. My information is in the email that Lexi sent out with this orientation. Next, we're going to talk about the trip guidebook and the permission waiver. If you haven't filled these out yet, I'll show you how to access these documents and point out an important note about posting pictures on social media while on your trip. From the homepage, click Volunteer. Scroll down to our trip list. Find the trip you registered for. I'll show you this first one as an example. Each trip page gives a list of the steps for registration. The first step is to fill out the trip registration form. If you're watching orientation, you've already done this. But please note that this form must be filled out for each member of your group or family. The second step is to read the Volunteer Trip Guidebook. The trip guidebook gives more information about your trip and specifics about the location you'll be visiting. Once you've read it as a group, please review and sign the Permission, Medical Release, and Guidebook Review form. This link will take you to a Smart Waiver. Please review this waiver in detail. There's one thing I want to point out at the end. Right here it says, I understand that if I post pictures on social media, I may not include children's names, my location, or mention the name of the orphanage. This is a precautionary measure we take to ensure the safety of the children we serve. We absolutely 100% want you to post on social media about your trip. We just ask that you please follow the guidelines in this review form. While serving at our Baja orphanages, you can tag Baja as your location. Just please do not tag the individual cities where the orphanages are located. We hope you will also include the hashtags A Child's Hope Foundation and ACHF Volunteer. These hashtags help spread the word about our important cause and let others know about the awesome opportunity to come down to Mexico with us to play with the kids. The last step for registration is to submit payment. We've already talked about this, but I wanted to point out that this is one other place that you can link to that same trip payments page. If you have any other questions about your permission forms or about the trip guidebook, please contact Lexi. Thanks again for watching.
Hello, and welcome to the online orientation for your trip with the Child's Hope Foundation to Rancho De Los Ninos in El Porvenir, Baja, Mexico. My name's Robin Smelanich, and I'm the Director of Operations for Child's Hope Foundation. I hope that this PowerPoint presentation will give you a glimpse into the orphanage that you're going to be going to, its surroundings, and what a typical day will be. So let's get started. The first screen that I want to show you is here a picture of Paul and Caroline Cook. They're the ones that started Child's Hope Foundation in the early 2000s. They adopted this little baby, Megan, from China, and when they got home, Paul had an acquaintance that asked him, you know, the plight of orphans in Haiti is dire, and we really need some help. So Paul went down there and saw that there was a gentleman who had, I don't know how many orphans, in a little one-room building. And he thought, I need to do more than just send him money on a monthly basis. I really need to get involved. So that's what he did. So this next screen here, you can read it. I'll give you a few seconds to read it. Just kind of tells you what his mission was when he organized a Child's Hope Foundation. This next screen just shows you what the structures were like in Haiti, what they were dealing with, what the orphans were living in. And so the other picture here shows when the volunteers went down there and they got to work. And it took several years, but they built this beautiful orphanage. And the nice thing that's happened with this orphanage is over 1,200 children have been adopted into various families in the U.S., North America, and Europe. It got so that it was a little bit dangerous to take volunteers down to Haiti, but they didn't want a Child's Hope vision to be lost. So they started looking in Mexico to find orphanages there that they could assist. And so we have been going to Mexico and helping orphanages down there since about 2007. This is a picture of Rancho De Los Ninos. This is where you will be staying. It's about 35 miles inland from the coast of Mexico. It's in a beautiful part of Mexico where it's mostly vineyards, actually. and has great food. So you're really going to enjoy this area. Let me talk a little bit about what it looks like, what the accommodations look like. So this is a kitchen. You can see here we have yogurt, we have bananas, there's volunteers in making breakfast. And that's how it goes. Every morning we will divide up the group, and certain people will make breakfast each morning. And these meals are breakfast burritos or pancakes or French toast, yogurt. We always have lots of cold cereal. So there's plenty of variety of things that you can eat for breakfast. This is the dining room that you'll be eating in, and also that's where we do presentations. If you want to do a presentation for the orphans, you can do it in this room as well. And then this next picture just again shows you the kitchen that you will be staying, of where you'll be staying. Also, there is a fridge in this kitchen. So if you want to bring treats or snacks, or you have medication that needs to be refrigerated, you are welcome to put it here in this fridge. So there's not going to be a ton of room, but there is room for some extra items. Just be sure to label them so people know they're for you, your family specifically, and not to be shared with everybody. Here you can see some more of the buildings. This is the bunkhouse where you'll be staying. We just have, if any of you have stayed in youth hostels, it's kind of like that. We just have big rooms with bunk beds, and there are several of these. So if you have a large family and you want to all stay together, we can accommodate that. You can see here that there's just a mattress on the bed, and so you will need to bring your own bedding, sheets and a blanket with a pillow, or you can just throw a sleeping bag on the mattress if you'd like. Whatever is easiest for you to bring. This just shows you another glimpse as to what the rooms look like. So let's talk a little bit about the day and the construction projects. These vary from trip to trip because it just depends on what projects have been done, what the needs are of the orphanage. So you will be told within 2 weeks of the trip what exactly your construction projects will be. This first one, I just wanted to show you that there's plenty for children to do. I know we have lots of children that go on these trips, and these two twins have gone actually down on several volunteer trips. And on this particular trip, they were helping Erin here, who's one of the orphans, clean up the playroom and all of their toys. So you can see they have a lot of toys. Here's another picture of them doing construction, laying concrete. They were putting a concrete pathway around a play area. And you can also see there in the foreground of this picture the foosball table. This particular orphanage and these kids love foosball. So if you want to think of, what can I bring these kids that they need? They always need foosballs because they're getting lost and broken and smashed. That's something simple you can stick in your suitcase. We organized their pantry. Some of the ladies at this particular group went in and organized the pantries, which was a huge help for Jorge and for his cook to know exactly what they had. Here they are painting. There's always tons of painting. They love murals. They love different colors. So you can guarantee you'll be doing some painting. Also at this particular orphanage, they actually have a building that is full of clothes, donated clothes. So no, they do not need clothes either. What you could do if there's projects and you need something to do and you feel like you're looking for a project, you could go to this building. It's right by the road, and try and organize the clothes into sizes and so forth. Here's another one, painting a new sign for the orphanage, painting murals. Like I said, they love their paint, and also laying tile. So the projects vary. Here they are moving the cement equipment over to make cement. No, they do not have a cement truck that comes in and dumps it like we do here. It's made by hand, so it's a lot of hard work. Don't forget your work gloves. This particular orphanage also has a nursery where they raise vegetables and so forth and try and sell to the community to try and get some extra money for the kids. Even though the construction projects are a very important part of our trip, we like to improve their surroundings, improve where they live and so forth. The main thing that a Child's Hope vision is to go down and become aunts and uncles to these children. To show them love, to give them a hug, to play with them and give them a smile. And so if it's between doing a construction project or playing with the kids, I would say play with the kids. And you can, sky's the limit on what you want to do with these kids. This was a particular project that someone actually donated a sewing machine to this orphanage and brought a lot of fabrics and let the kids choose what fabric they wanted, and she made them all a satchel and then left the machine, which was nice. Here they are doing a program. Like I said, if your family happens to be theatrical or musical or whatever, and you want to put together a little program, they would love it. Or you can do simple things like bring a couple puzzles down and do a puzzle with them. Those are easy. We always have on Friday nights, there's always a big party at the end where we do a big taco dinner. We have piñatas, and it's a big dance party. And so that's a picture of what they're doing here, is hitting the piñata. Another group went down and made all of the girls these little tutus, the little girls, and made boys capes. So honestly, there's just all sorts of things you can do with these kids. They do like ball games. So you can see here, there's basketball. They have a soccer field, so you can bring basketballs and soccers. Just bring them uninflated and then inflate them when you get down there. Like I said, it's an orphanage for kids that don't have a family, and it's also the foster care system. So this cute little family right here, the tallest girl is actually their aunt. And I met them the first time I went down to Rancho, and then they haven't been there since. So hopefully they were reunited with their family. Just another picture of the cute little kids that live here. And then a group picture. So the construction projects usually take place in the morning. So we get up around 7, have breakfast, clean up, and then start construction. It can get really hot in Mexico during the day, and so it's best to do your hard work in the morning. And then in the afternoon, we just go play. Either we take outings or we play with the kids. So this will just tell you a little bit about some of the outings. We have gone to the beach. The beach is a lot of fun. You're allowed to wade in the beach. We don't recommend swimming just because there are riptides in this particular beach. But they do have horseback riding. You can build sand castles. You can buy candy. You can play with the kids with frisbees. All sorts of things you can do at the beach. This is a great taco stand. It's actually in a different town that you're going to be driving through, but you may stop and get tacos here. But I have to tell you that El Porvenir has wonderful restaurants, and you will be going to some of those. We also found a swimming pool. I have not swam in it, but the orphans love it, and a lot of volunteers love it. So sometimes we go to the swimming pool when it's really warm. They have great bakeries, and we'll also go shopping. We'll also take one afternoon and either go down to Ensenada or over to Rosarito and do some souvenir shopping as well as have dinner. So this just shows you a group of kids, with the hats they bought. This is a picture of the restaurant that we go to in Ensenada, where they have live music as well. And then that's just the last picture of Ensenada. So I hope this gives you an idea of what the orphanage looks like, what your accommodations will be, what the construction projects could entail, and what some of your activities will be. I'm sure you have a lot of questions. We have the guidebook that we're going to be going through next to answer some of those questions, and then you can always contact Lexi Skousen. She is the volunteer trip coordinator. This is her email address, and she will be happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you, and I hope you have a fabulous trip.
Hi, I'm Samantha Smith. I'm Director of Training, and I will be working with Robin today to talk about your trip guidebook, to give you a little more information to help you be ready for your trip.
So hopefully you were able to either pull it up on your email or print it off so you can take notes and think of questions that you have for us. The first thing we want to mention is just to talk about clothing. When you're getting ready to pack for your trip, the main thing is to, number 1, pack light, and number 2, bring layers. In Mexico, it can be hot during the day, very warm during the day, and then cool off at night and in the morning. So if you bring, short sleeve shirts to work out in the day, and then have a hoodie, or even if you're there in the winter, bring a beanie to wear at night, that is probably the best thing, is to bring layers. Also, before you go, like a week before you go, check on weather.com and just type in El Porvenir, Mexico. I have that written here. And see if it's going to rain, what the weather's going to be like, and that will help you with packing.
A key thing to remember in Mexico is flexibility. And you'll have a trip post that will be there as your guide to keep you on track throughout the day, to bring you to different activities, to be able to translate, and to just in general kind of be the mom and dad of the trip. You also have a construction supervisor that will be there to teach you different construction skills and set you up in different teams. There are a few things that we want to cover that they will also cover that are important policies that we have while in Mexico, and specifically at the orphanages. So plumbing in Mexico is a little different if you haven't been there before, and one thing that's very important is that you do not put toilet paper in the toilet. It will stop up not just that toilet, but possibly the whole system. And so it's very important that, and next to each of the toilets there will be a trash can. It's really important that you put your toilet paper in the trash can. If you forget and by accident do what you're used to doing, which is throwing the toilet paper in the toilet, that's all right. There is a stick that will be provided next to the toilet. We ask that you are very careful about making sure you grab the top, fish out with the bottom, and replace it that same way. So the next person who forgets doesn't grab a side that had gone in the toilet. Another important thing, at Rancho, it is a big property, and so you'll have a lot of space, but past their kitchen, we ask that you do not invite any of the kids to go. That is one of their director's rules, and so we ask that you don't make it difficult on them to keep their rules. As well as when you're out playing, they have a large area, a large playground, basketball, a nice gazebo to do crafts underneath. So we ask that that is the area that you play. If a kid wants to show you something, you can go up to the door, but you cannot go in their homes. So if they want to show you something, then you can just wait at the door when they go get their different toy or whatever picture they wanted to show you from their room and come back and show you, but we don't go in their housing. So that's very important. Also, if you're not familiar playing with little kids, they're a lot of fun, but they're very squirmy. So we ask that you be very cautious when you're picking kids up, especially over areas where there is concrete. Just recognize that they very easily can squirm out of your arms. Another important piece is that we don't have laundry service at the orphanage. We ask that you don't wash clothes in sinks, and that you recognize that there isn't laundry service while we're down there. And the last important piece is safe drinking water. So we'll always have large 5-gallon jugs in the kitchen that you can refill water bottles, and we recommend that's what you drink with, and even what you brush your teeth with, that you always use that drinking water instead of sink water to be extra safe. Construction is always ongoing, as you might imagine, at orphanages, so you probably don't yet know what your construction project is. Within 2 weeks of your trip, Lexi will send you an email to give you an update on what that next project will be and an updated itinerary that we request you print out to bring with you so that you're aware. Your trip post will keep you advised of different activities as they go, but it's helpful to have your own copy. What you will always need with construction is work gloves, a water bottle to refill, and sunscreen, or as Robin suggested, layers, something that you can cover your arms, and a hat.
So let's review just a typical day. And this just is a very brief how your day will go. So we get up around 6:37. Normally it's 7:30. But there will be assigned a group to cook breakfast. There will be a different group every morning. Your trip host will do that. So you eat breakfast. You'll start your morning off with construction. And again, the construction supervisor will tell you what needs to be done. He'll assign you projects, and you'll work on that until about noon. Then at noon, you'll either eat lunch there at the orphanage, or your trip host will take you out to a fun place to eat. El Porvenir has some great restaurants, so you're going to look forward to eating out. The afternoons, we do fun activities, and below this, you'll see under where it says fun activities. This just gives you an idea of some things you can do. You might go to the beach and play on the beach. We don't necessarily swim just because of riptides, but you're able to wade in there. You can ride horses. We have a swimming pool that we take kids to. There's also a zoo in El Porvenir, and the kids love to go to the zoo. So this will all be planned out. Actually, that's Samantha's job to plan out your activities. Playing with the kids. You might just have an afternoon where you just play with the kids there at the orphanage. So you can bring fun things to do with them, puzzles, bubbles, card games, books. They love foosball at this orphanage. They have a foosball table, remember, from the PowerPoint. So if you want to bring little foosballs, bring those.
They also have a basketball court. They also
Yeah.
have a soccer field. Anything that you love to do with your family or your nieces and nephews, chances are high that these kids are going to love to do that too. Finger painting or any sort of craft, puzzle, reading books, all of those are a lot of fun for them. The first day you'll actually have a chance to have a welcome dinner. So the very first thing you'll do after you unpack is to go play with the kids. And that is a great time to not worry about bringing anything. Maybe you bring a basketball or a soccer ball, but to just engage with them. Even if you don't speak Spanish, it's all right because all the kids speak a language of fun. So tag, reading books, anything to interact with them and not necessarily bring out a bunch of gifts, but to just spend time with them, interacting with them, and you'll be able to also eat with them that night as well.
And after your meal, whether you've gone out to a fun restaurant or you've eaten at orphanage with the children, we always gather around the campfire for a fireside. And this is a time where the trip host will ask you, what were your opinions of the day? What went well? What would you like to do tomorrow? He will tell you what the agenda is tomorrow. The construction supervisor might say what projects have been completed and what new ones you will start the next day. It's just kind of a recap of the day. It's also a good time to if you have thoughts you want to share, if you had a special touching moment with a child, if you brought a guitar down or ukulele, you want to sing songs around the campfire. We always get s'mores, so you can do s'mores around the campfire, and that's how we end our day. And then lights out usually by around 10 o'clock.
So meeting in San Diego, what we'll do is we'll sit in your email that Lexi sent out. We'll have the meeting time and which location, if you'll either be meeting in the parking lot at Walmart or at Home Depot. And you'll meet with your trip host and they'll give a little rundown of where you guys are going. It's really important at this point that you have downloaded your Google Maps. So in an email that Lexi sent you, you'll have received the pins for the different locations that we'll be going to. So if you could pull out your phone right now, and if you go to Google Maps, the very top left corner, there are 3 lines right next to where it says search Google Maps. When you hit those 3 lines, it will pop up your icon with your email, and right below that, the first icon says your pins. When you click on your pins, there are 3 words across the top labeled saved and maps. The third option, maps, when you click on it, if you have clicked on that link within your email account, then it will pull up ACHF Baja Mexico trip locations. And that is the locations for all of the different areas that you will be going to down in Mexico. It's important that you have this so that we are not caravanning, so that people can be safe as they're driving and being aware of other drivers on the road without the stress of making sure that they're not exactly right behind somebody. And your trip host will be able to text back and forth where you guys are going to be going so that people can get there stress-free.
That is very important. Those of you who will be riding in the ACHF vans that you requested to ride in a van versus take your own car, please let Lexi Skousen know when you will be arriving in San Diego, what your flight number is, and what time you will be arriving, so that your trip host who will be driving the van can come to the airport and pick you up. If you'll be in another location besides the airport, you also need to let Lexi know that if your trip host needs to pick you up. We recommend that you have a morning flight because we do leave the Walmart parking lot at 1 o'clock, and it's about a 20-minute drive from the airport down to Chula Vista to that Walmart parking lot. So please make sure that your flights get in the morning. Purchasing Mexican car insurance. So those of you who are driving your own cars, you will need Mexican insurance. You can check with your carrier that you have currently to see if they would provide coverage. You'll probably only go about 75 miles south. You'll go as far as Ensenada. Will probably be as far south as you will go. So if they will cover you, great. If not, we have a link here to Baja Bound. It's a place that you can quick and easy get Mexican insurance. It's the cheapest place that we have found at A Child's Hope. So make sure that you do have Mexican insurance. Those of you who will be renting cars, say at the airport if you want to rent your own car, make sure that that rental company knows that number one, you're going to be taking this car into Mexico, because certain cars they will not allow to go into Mexico. Mexico. And number 2, that you will get Mexican insurance. And it's usually about $150 for the week. It's not outrageously expensive.
For meals throughout the week, you will have dinner on Tuesday through dinner on Friday covered. So make sure that you've had a chance to eat on Tuesday before we head down, and then on Saturday you are free to eat at the border or any number of locations. You can talk with your trip host if you're looking for ideas of where to eat on that Saturday. There are tons of snacks that we provide, but if you're picky eaters or if you're concerned about anything, there's also will be some space in the fridge and certainly shelf space that you can bring your own snacks that we recommend for in between different activities throughout the week.
We touched a little bit on phones and internet. Again, we mentioned that there needs to be at least one working cell phone per vehicle. So check with your carrier. Most carriers, your phone's going to work in Mexico. The most important thing, and I have it here in bold on this form, is you have to turn on your data roaming. If it's not turned on, you're not going to get text messages and so forth that you will need from your trip host.
And along with that, in Mexico, there are certain locations that are dead zones. So before you leave for a location, make sure you queue up your maps. And if you've queued up your maps already, then you'll be able to proceed to the location without any problems. If you try to reroute throughout, it might take a little longer because there are some stretches where we're in a more deserty area.
And one of the last things we want to talk about is just orphan needs. Everyone is always asking, what do they need? What can we bring? You know, you want to bring stuff down to these cute little kids or to the orphanage. To be honest, the main thing they need is money, is monetary. So if you could do a monthly donation to a Child's Hope, that money will go directly to the orphanage. The food that they eat and the food we eat is different, and so by providing Jorge with some money that he can go buy food for the orphanage, they also need just basic things, like they always need toilet paper, right? They always need cleaning supplies. What else, Sam? What else would you recommend?
One thing to do if you're looking for something specific, like if you have a child who wants to do an Eagle Scout project, or if you want to do something specific for Christmas, if you email Lexi, she will put you in contact with the person who will coordinate with that orphanage director their specific needs, because it's always changing. Sometimes it's a need for medication, which honestly normally they can get cheaper down in Mexico. So again, cash is easier for them. But if there is any need that it's fine to send something down from up here, then coordinating that through Lexi is the best way to go, because it's always changing.
And at Christmas time, it is fun. The November and December trips, it is fun to bring special things down to the kids. And the last thing, I just like to highlight a few things. You got a packing list from Lexi on an email, but we just want to make sure, cash. You can use, in this part of Mexico, you can use U.S. currency. So if you want to bring, we say $100 per person, but honestly, for little kids, they don't need that, because this cash is just being used for souvenirs that you want to buy and maybe some snacks. But if you do bring cash, make sure it's small bills, 1s and 5s, and maybe 10s, because things in Mexico are very inexpensive. Again, make sure you bring your work gloves, your sunscreen, a hat, any medications that you need, don't forget those. A flashlight if you need to get up in the middle of the night for any reason to go to the bathroom, or a child's crying. You're sleeping in a room with a lot of people. It's kind of like a youth hostel. So you might need a flashlight. And the last thing you might think is silly, but really bring earplugs. As we know, some people snore, some people sleep loudly, someone might be crying, so earplugs might be just what you need to get a good night's rest. So thank you for listening to this. We hope this answered some of your questions. Again, we've given you the email for Lexi Scows and the volunteer coordinator, and we hope you have a great trip.